What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. I want to talk about 𝗪𝗧𝗪, ticker is BETS. Still a very much popular stock. I want to go over what's been recently happening with the company, and if you are a long-term investor or if you're just getting into it, some things that you need to note. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So did close at 17.75% on Friday. Crazy amount of volatility. So 425 the low, 493 is the high. And even though technically it recently did a 1-for-1000 reverse stock split, still is very popular with a lot of traders because, simply put, there's buying that is happening, as you can kind of see. Even though the trend is overall down, it has been having kind of blips, and this is where essentially people can swing trade it, and this is why you do see a lot of volume. So 1.79 million shares were traded on Friday. 1.21 million is the average. Today there was no actual news whatsoever from the company itself. There was no SEC filings. There was actually a SEC filing submitted on January the 10th, a amended 13G. So that did show a institution kind of getting fully out of their position. So I think that was kind of anticipated, especially with the severity of the reverse stock split and just the recent performance. So once again, I think that's kind of anticipated. Aside from that though, there was this submitted on January the 10th. So first part is just more of a correction, and kind of funny enough, I guess, based on the previous PR, they did put the wrong ticker. So they put BTB versus BETS. So that's something they did correct. But aside from that, they did announce that 1-for-1000 reverse stock split. And that is going to become effective January the 10th, 2024. Clearly, we have been 3 days after that. So a couple of things to note, I'm going to talk about that and most likely why they did the reverse stock split. So you can kind of see right here, this is all the reverse stock splits this company has undergone. So January the 10th, 2024, they did that 1-for-1000. December 15th, 2022, a 1-for-15. August 27th, 2020, a 1-for-10. And so when it comes down to companies and the NASDAQ doing reverse stock splits, a company is only entitled to do a 1-for-250 within a 2-year time period. Anything above that or exceeding that, technically they're not really privy to any NASDAQ kind of leniencies, if that makes sense. So in a normal case, if a company is deficient in one of NASDAQ's rulings, they would just be given 180 days to rectify the deficiency, similar to what happened actually with 𝗪𝗧𝗪. But technically, if a company is over that threshold of 1-for-250 within 2 years, reverse stock splits, then they're not allowed that actual grace period. So if they are in the future kind of deficient on one of the rulings, they're just going to immediately get knocked down to OTC. So the question is, why did they do such a crazy amount of a reverse stock split? And that was just to 100% guarantee they're going to be staying on the NASDAQ, because there's a lot more capital and access to capital on the NASDAQ. If you look at their last earnings that did come out, they have about 5.37 million in cash equivalent short-term investments, 1.03 million in long-term investments, and 1 million in debt, which isn't all that bad, but they are burning 11.07 million in cash, or I guess from operations. So if you kind of look at the numbers, things don't jive, plain as day. So that does mean there's going to be more dilution in the foreseeable future, which is probably aiding in it going down. Just investors do not believe in it right now because they know a lot of dilution is coming, and no investor really wants to kind of hold on to the stock while that does happen. Then again, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. A couple of things to note though, based on the NASDAQ rulings. So in order for them to regain and get the rubber stamp from the NASDAQ, they do have to trade anywhere from 10 to 20 consecutive trading days or business days, as what is stated right here. So given the nature of the ratio they did, it is fair to assume that the NASDAQ is going to choose most likely 20 consecutive trading days. So that does mean that 𝗪𝗧𝗪 needs to trade consecutively over $1, which so far as day number 3 has passed, but they have to continue to trade up until February the 7th, 2024 above that $1 mark. Even for once, if they slip below $1, then I don't know, it's not good. Technically, they were given grace period up until June of June 24th, if I remember correctly, sometime in June. So no matter what though, they do have to have 20 consecutive trading days within that time period up until June. If not, they're going to get knocked down to OTC. And there are some pros and cons to OTC, but still, for a company that is needing capital and is kind of being manipulated behind the scenes, not the best scenario. But of course, this company isn't the most heavily shorted. So based on this, it does show the short interest is around 7,700, but you just simply take that, divide by the 1,000, which is the reverse ratio that they did. So it's about 7.7% of the free float being shorted. Ortex sometimes takes a good about 3 or 4 days to correct all the ratios behind the scenes, but having about a 8% short interest is still a lot higher from my very first video when I covered this company, which I think was at 5.5. So it has gone up. A lot of shorts are starting to enter into this company. So if this does get knocked down to OTC, I feel like it's going to be kind of given to the wolves, if that makes sense. So a couple of things to note: if you are investing in this company, most likely they are going to be needing some dilution of some nature in the foreseeable future. As well, this is the date that you need to note that will be their 20 consecutive trading days. So this is probably when they'll get the rubber stamp from the NASDAQ saying that they are compliant. And this is kind of the worst case scenario, which is more oriented towards that 20. Let's say the NASDAQ likes this company, then yes, it'll be pretty much 10 days. So if it is 10 days, then that ultimately will be right here. So January the 24th, 2024. So one of those two dates most likely will be when NASDAQ gives rubber stamp that this company is good. So just has to hold that $1 mark. As far as some support and resistance points, if you're looking at trading this company, with it at $4.31, it is trading between this S3 and this S2. So $3.65 is going to be that next strong support, and then $4.34 is going to be the next strong resistance. It just briefly snuck right underneath that S2, so I wouldn't really consider this broken as of right now. So I'd be more oriented to say that this $4.77 is going to be the next strong resistance. This S2 probably going into next week will just be flirted with a little bit. So we'll just have to see whether it does trade between this S3 and this S2, or this S2 and this S1. But clearly the broader market is selling off. There was big banks unveiling their earnings on Friday before the market did open, and it showed a lot of signs of things slowing. So not the best in my opinion. But regardless, like I said, you can definitely make a lot of money off of companies such as this that have a lot of volatility. So that's clearly why you do see the number of retail investors kind of maintaining themselves based on the momentum indicator. Stochastic though is at 13, so that is considered oversold, but you do see a bearish sentiment starting to form, so the red line above the black. So a lot of things are happening with this company, a lot of volatility, but like I said, you can still technically make money with it, but it's a whole different level of risk for a lot of investors. What's your thoughts on BitBrother? Are you investing for the long term? Have you been buying recently, or did you sell? What have you been doing with BitBrother? Surprisingly enough, after the reverse stock split, so on the 10th, it had a crazy spike to about 877, give or take around there. So this stock is like, it was all over the place. Of course, once a reverse stock split does happen, sometimes there is a FOMO rally because shorts do have to return some shares, which I think was the actual circumstances that did happen. Since then, I think shorts started to really double down and increase a little bit more. So that's where it went from about 5.5% short interest to the now 8. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly what does come in the foreseeable future. I don't know if this is still going to be the circumstances. Based on the last Morningstar report, it did show the fair market value for BitBrother being $2. So I don't know if that's realistic, if it's still going to stand or whatnot. Clearly $2 not factoring in the reverse stock split and whatever else. So let me know your thoughts on this company. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing I wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. Has been extended up until January the 15th. Simply sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is one of the best deals in the market. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.